the way that I designed this, I wanted it to look like a wooden door that belonged on a ship. So I looked up images and I combined them all here so that I could see the common features between them and choose the ones that I liked and what went together. And essentially, what I came up with is that I liked the bottom of the door, like this section, being smaller than this top section. And I noticed that there's three same-sized horizontal rails, or same length rather, and that the vertical rails of the frame of the door are longer than the slats in the middle. I liked that. So I combined that together. I noticed that for the most part, it's vertical boards in the middle, and this is the only exception, was this little pirate door down here. And that I liked the like bolts sticking through motif, and I liked this porthole. So I combined all that together, and I designed this picture here. Actually ended up being this picture. I wasn't sure if I wanted that the metal thing over top of it, and I wasn't even sure how to make it. But alright, so here is Sketchup. You'll get more used to using it as you use it. At first it probably will be a bit confusing, but basically the way I do things is I plan it out based on the common existing lumber that's available, and if I need to cut anything down, then I will, but I prefer to make it out of stuff that exists already. So for example, we know we're going to be using 1x4s, which are 3/4. You see down in the bottom right, as I'm typing but not moving the mouse, it's adding the dimensions. And I'm doing a 3/4 inch rectangle by 3.5 inches. And if you don't have to type the like quotation marks to make it inches. You just type a number and it'll assume inches. And if you wanted it to be feet, like for example, we could draw a line. 3 inches is regular, or you can do 3 with an apostrophe for feet. And if you wanted to, you can type 3 inches like that. Or you could set it up for centimeters. I don't remember how to do that, but I know you can. Anyway, so I made my 1x4 like this, and then used the pull tool to pull that surface up, say 8 feet, which is the normal size of one of these boards. And then I like to triple click on it, right click, make group. Now you can move this whole thing around, and if you do Control C and Control V, you can paste it, or you can even more quickly, if you click on it, you see you're moving it around, but if I tap the Control button, then I've cloned it, and I can move it wherever I want and stick it there, and look, there's another one. Instead of having to Control C, Control V, you just click, press Control, and drag it around. You can even click, press Control, and then change your mind and go, you know what, no, I just want to move the thing. So you can do that. Anyway, so I know that the doors are going to be made somewhat like this, and of course the measurements will be different depending on your space, but let's assume it'll be something like, actually, that's Control Z for undo, like in most programs. Let's assume that'll be 6 feet apart. I'm just making this up. That's not at all what my door looks like, but and then you take and make another one of these like this, and then obviously if we want this to be the horizontal part of the frame, it needs to be 6 feet, like we just made those two pieces 6 feet apart. So double click on that to open the group, and then you're only editing this group. A more advanced thing that I find it hard to remember to do is that you can you can make a thing, let's say, look, I'm making a square or a cubish thing, and you can make it a component. And the component, you can call it cubish thing. It acts like a group in that you can move the whole thing around, and then you can open it up and edit it individually. But if you've got several of them in your project, and then you decide, oh wait, I need to change something about that, but I want it to change for every single one that I've used. Then you go in and you edit the one of them, any given one of them, and it changes all of them. And that can be useful, and it can also be a pain. It's just something to consider. But then, of course, you erase one, you don't erase them all. You have to manually pick them all and erase them. That's... Anyway, so making the frame to whatever measurements that you've taken of your space. So that's the outside bit made of 1x4s, as detailed in the Instructable. And then we want to make our fence pickets, at least the ones that I used, are 5/8 by 5.5 inches, and they are 6 feet long. And I just realized that's not going to work for this example because I made these 8 feet long. So let's just make them 6 feet long. So that's where it would be useful if I'd made the vertical rails a component instead of a group. Then me just changing that one would have changed both. But this is fine too. It takes a couple seconds once you get used to it. So we've got the horizontal rails, we've got the vertical rails, and then we've got... Oh, I need to make that a group. Then we've got our fence picket. Now on the actual fence pickets that I'm using from Menards, they're dog-eared, so they've got little triangles cut out of them, but they're going to be cut short enough, at least on my door, that you don't worry about that. So we'll drag it into here. And you'll get used to the little quirks too of, like, you'll notice that you can drag it to the edge and it'll kind of snap depending on where your mouse is. In a straight line from where you had it. But if you just kind of haphazardly do this, you're going to end up with it, you see in the bottom right here, it shows the last thing I did. And the last thing I did was about 1/2 inch. And anytime you see this little about sign, this tilde, that's probably not a good thing most of the time, because that's not how we deal with things in real life. We deal with them usually, in a preferred situation, in actual exactly 1/2 inch. So you want it to, like, snap into corners and things like that. Oops. I'm using the middle mouse, like the mouse wheel, clicking it and dragging to move the camera around, but sometimes you get a little bit lost. If you do ever get super lost, I'm pretty sure this button, Zoom Extents, yes, that brings you back, and it shows you centers on the whole model. Anyway, so we've got this piece here, and that's what I love about Sketchup, is you've taken your measurements and you know that this frame fits in this is the overall size of the door that you want. So now you just take all of your different components and fit them together with it in a way that makes sense. So make the fence picket piece fit inside it, and then you just clone it over and over and put the pieces next to each other. And the more advanced thing to do, well, I don't know if it's more advanced. It's actually just proactive laziness. But what I would do is I would attempt to design the thing so that it would actually, like I need 3 doors next to each other. And I would try to make most of the doors, if possible, the length that would require me not to rip this piece, like one of these pieces, down in width. Like I would go, okay, you know what? I want, of my 3 doors, I want this one to be anyway, the point is, I would try to make it so I have to do as few cuts as possible and still make everything look good. So this door would end up being determined, its width would be determined by the width of however many of these go together, the closest amount. Anyway, so let me show you, in fact, the actual thing, that a project file that I was working in. So this shelf needs doors in front of it. So what I did was I took measurements of the shelf and modeled it, knowing like what it's made of. It's got like 1/2 inch laminated plywood with melamine on it, or particle board with melamine. Anyway, and then I've got I determined that this space would probably be best suited to 3 doors. And I made this door and this door with the same amount of pickets in the middle, 7 of them. And then this door with 6 pickets only. But it's still overall symmetrical because the one in the middle is smaller. It's not like this one was off to the left. And once I've put this together and I'm happy with it, and all of the different components, then I take the component that I've made, like the one that I want to work on. I bring it over here, or like I clone it, bring it over here, and then Explode breaks it apart into its smaller groups. And I know that I need these pieces are all the same as that one, so I'm going to get rid of that and say times 7. Need 7 of those, and this little tool here, you drag it from point to point, and it'll tell you the dimensions. Now I put a, whoops. I don't know if that's exactly correct. I put a little round over on the edge here, which is not necessary. It's kind of a pain to do, and you don't need to. For the basics of it, you just need to remember that that's what you want to do. So that shows you very quickly at a glance, you need 7 of these things. They're 5.5 inches wide, 5 feet 9 inches long, and I guess you could also uh, 5/8. And then what I do is I normally like hit the print screen button, take a picture of it, and paste it into an image program and save it. And then I send them to my phone in Messenger, Facebook Messenger, so that I can reference that while I'm cutting out the pieces. And that's how I make my cut list and go through it. Keep in mind also, this tool, if you have a line that is, for example, it's like a very strange number, like you just drug it out and you didn't pay any attention to how long it was. There, like that. It considers this to be about 1 1/16. So when you drag this little tool here, it's going to give you 1 1/16, even though that's not exactly what it is. So just keep in mind that this tool doesn't give you the exact thing that you've laid down if you've gone to greater detail than that. So like a 16th is as low as it normally goes. So if I type 1/32, that actually is a 1/32 line. However, this measurement tool here doesn't understand anything lower than a 16th, so it's going to give you a 16th. Same thing with this tape measure. Doesn't understand lower than a 16th.